Hello, how are you? A Japanese scientist won the Nobel Prize for explaining a fundamental process in our body called autophagy, which is related to cellular cleansing. Today, I'm going to explain to you how this process works and why it's so important for our bodies. Stick around until the end, you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you if you worry about this issue of cellular aging, about the aging of our bodies. When we talk about aging and whether or not you worry about it, of course, some people tend to think about the aesthetic side, but I'm really talking about health, about preventing diseases, reducing inflammation, and improving quality of life. So tell me what you think about this down below in the comments. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. It really helps me out here on the channel, and share this video with anyone who would enjoy it. Let's grow our chain of kindness. When we think about autophagy, many people especially think about the important role it plays when we are over 50 or 60 years old, because as time goes by, our body's cleaning system can become less efficient. The body tolerates fewer mistakes, and small failures can turn into bigger problems, even diseases. So when autophagy works well, the cells operate with less debris, less of that accumulated cellular waste, the tissues become less inflamed, and the body ages in a more organized way. That's why autophagy is often linked to a lower risk of age-related diseases, better functioning of the body as we age, and more independence in daily life. Many people think of autophagy as a switch, something you turn on or off, as if it only works when you're doing something special, like intermittent fasting, for example. But that's not true. Autophagy works all the time, every day, from the day you were born. It's like a basic cleaning of our body or our house. Even on normal days, in our house we have to do basic cleaning. Take out the trash, wipe things down, sweep a little, organize the mess, otherwise it becomes a hard to manage house. So the body does this with our cells too, every day, all the time. This is what we call the basal level of autophagy, which happens continuously, even when we're eating normally and not fasting. So the cells keep cleaning out whatever is causing them problems. So why do so many people talk about activating autophagy? Because what can change is not whether it exists or not. You already understand that it always exists, but how much this cleaning system works, how optimized it is. So what makes autophagy work harder and increase its pace, what makes it function more efficiently, is when the body senses that there is limited energy available and that it needs to conserve it and adapt to that situation. This happens mainly when our insulin is lower. That is, when there isn't food coming in, energy coming in all the time, when calorie intake drops for a few hours, and when the body enters a state of mild challenge. But it can't be something that causes suffering for your body. This mild stress on the body, these hours of fasting, and usually the researchers and scientists indicate that 16 hours of fasting in a day can start to lead to a greater state of autophagy. So, this mild stress is usually this fasting period I mentioned to you, 16 hours a day without eating, or else having meals with lower caloric content. Sometimes you don't go many hours without eating, but your total daily intake ends up being lower. Expending more energy can also be a way for you to enter this process of autophagy and even sleep better. There's nothing too extreme, and there isn't just a single pathway to activate autophagy, and that's an important point. So now I'm going to tell you how to further optimize these ways, these 4 ways to stimulate autophagy. After all, the researcher won a Nobel Prize in medicine for this, right? For proving that fasting really does this, that autophagy happens and how it happens. Let's first think about this issue of fasting. Researchers have already found that for the state of autophagy to function in a more optimized way, the ideal is a 16-hour fast. A big mistake that many people make is thinking that they have to do a 16-hour fast every day. If you don't do this with the guidance of a nutritionist or a doctor who can advise you on your diet, it can lead to nutritional deficiencies and even a state of malnutrition. So the most important thing is for you to understand that you can do this fast once or twice a week, and ideally always with a professional guiding you, so that when you break your fast, you have a meal that is rich in protein, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber to provide your body with nutrients, since you will be eating less, a smaller amount. So this is a very important point. Thinking about this issue of having slightly smaller meals, I even have a video here talking about the Japanese technique that is used, because in fact, we know that the Japanese tend to be a long-lived people, and they have this technique called hara hachibu. I talk more about this in my video, in which they usually eat 70 to 80% of their daily total. Instead of eating a full plate of food, they eat about 80% of what would fit on that plate. So with that, their daily caloric intake is consistently lower. It's as if they're always in a slight caloric deficit, and this can stimulate more states of autophagy and might be a less difficult way for some people. Reducing the amount every day might be better than going many hours without eating. Of course, this will always vary from person to person, and even more so if there is any comorbidity, any pre-existing illness, or a certain lifestyle, or if there is medication that needs to be taken with food. So, once again, it will always depend on each person. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, and your local healthcare professional will help you with this, for sure. Another point is spending more energy through movement. We know that high-performance athletes who burn much more energy than they consume have a much greater tendency toward autophagy because the amount of circulating energy is lower, right? Since they expend a lot of energy during training, they usually have a faster rate of cellular cleansing. Of course, you don't need to be a top athlete to stimulate more autophagy, but if you do this together with the other factors, you can increase it even more. I have videos here on the channel talking more about walking, running, weight training, and how to make any physical activity more enjoyable, and I'll leave these videos as additional resources down below in the description. Another thing that can further stimulate autophagy is sleeping better. This ends up being a bit underestimated by people because think about it. When we sleep, that's when our body goes through its biggest cleaning process. It's when we hit that reset on the body, on the metabolism, on the organism. So if you have light, fragmented, or non-restorative sleep, that will definitely impact your autophagy as well, your body's ability to self-clean. So it's no use doing everything right and then only sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, having fragmented sleep, or not sleeping well. I have a playlist here with lots of tips on how to sleep better. I'll leave this playlist down below in the description. But remember that good quality sleep should be at least 7 to 8 hours per night continuously without waking up many times so that you can reach deep sleep. So, avoid eating very spicy or very acidic foods, large amounts of food, or drinking alcohol before bed. Alcohol may relax you at first, but later it causes you to have micro-awakenings during the night. Avoid a bedroom that is too hot or too cold. A mild temperature will help you. Avoid noise and light when sleeping, because all of this creates micro-stress in your body and prevents you from secreting relaxation hormones as you should, resulting in poor sleep quality. This can also impair your autophagy. There is also another strategy used by many people, which is also scientifically supported, reducing the amount of carbohydrates in meals, basically following a low-carb diet. That's because, as I mentioned, decreasing insulin secretion stimulates autophagy more, and there's also the matter of activating the mTOR pathway. So, many people choose not to stop eating for long hours or reduce the amount of food, but instead to lower their carbohydrate intake in order to modulate insulin secretion and achieve autophagy through this alternative route. This can be an interesting strategy for many people. I have many low-carb recipes and more videos talking about carb cycling, low carb, and the ketogenic diet. I'll leave them for you down below in the description. Just to explain it better, when I mentioned the mTOR pathway is related to anabolism, muscle growth, and energy storage. So when we aim not to activate this pathway, on the other hand, we're seeking catabolism, which is related to cellular cleansing. You could see in the video that fasting is not the only way to stimulate this autophagy pathway. Many people think that's all there is to it, but that's not the case. In fact, I have videos here on the channel talking about 16-hour, 18-hour, 14-hour, and 12-hour fasts and what the differences are between them. I'll leave it down below. There's a playlist on intermittent fasting, and I'll leave it down below in the description. By the way, it's worth making a warning that fasting is not recommended for some people. Pregnant women, breastfeeding women, people under 18, children. It's not recommended for people who have any kind of health problem or who take any kind of medication. If you already have any health condition, it's very important to talk to your doctor or your nutritionist first. If you have any kind of eating disorder, like anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating, fasting is often not recommended. So if you have any doubts about whether you should fast or not, talk to your healthcare professional who knows you personally. Let me know down below if you've ever tried any of these strategies to stimulate this very important pathway. I'd love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. That also helps me out, and share it with anyone you think might enjoy it. Let's expand our chain of kindness. That's what I want with this channel. See you next time. Bye.